Good afternoon, everybody. Hi, I'm Dwayne Parrish. I'm with the South Carolina Department of Parks, Recreation, and Tourism. You're in for a wonderful treat this afternoon. We're a state, as you're probably aware, known for agriculture, amongst many other things, but food is what sells these days in many cases. It's why people pick a destination. You've heard the term foodies. Growth of Travel, Leisure Magazine, Food Network, Food and Wine Magazine. You see it everywhere. About 9 years ago, we took the opportunity and said, hey, we have some wonderful food in this state. We want to highlight it and showcase it. So we started this program called the South Carolina Chef Ambassador Program, of which you're going to meet our 2023 class here in just a moment. But it was a program started sort of by the Department of Agriculture for South Carolina, as well as our agency, Parks, Recreation, and Tourism, to highlight food and what it means to South Carolina, and to highlight not only just food for farmers, but all the way to the table. I'm sure most of you heard the term food to the table, and you're going to see a little bit of that today. So, without further ado, I do want to introduce our chefs of today. Closest to me here is Chef Rob Masson. He's with a restaurant called Counter in Rock Hill. You'll learn a little bit more when Rob talks and does some of the stuff a little later. Next to him is Erica McCier, who is with Indigenous Underground in Abbeville, South Carolina. And on my far left here is Chef Marcus Shell from Rue de Jean in Charleston, South Carolina. So, I want to introduce these folks to you today. We're going to take you through a little bit of a show and a little bit of a demonstration, and then you're going to get a sample as you see in front of you on the cards there. So, without further ado, I'll let you folks take it over, and then Lynn and Seal will sort of narrate or moderate or MC.
Indigenous Underground in Abbeville, South Carolina. And if I'm correct, you used to be a school teacher.
I did. I was a visual arts teacher for 9 years, and I transitioned over into a culinary arts teacher for 4 years.
Wow, that's very cool.
Yes.
And you went to Greenville, Texas, is that right?
I started out at Greenville Tech, and my first year after going to Greenville Tech, well, my story is kind of like this. The reason why I went to culinary school, I developed kidney disease. So I was on dialysis for 3 days a week, and I was really just bored out of my mind, and I needed a hobby until I got my transplant. So the thing was, I would go to dialysis 3 days a week, and I started watching Food Network. So one day I picked up my phone and I Googled culinary schools near me. That's how I ended up at Greenville Tech. Well, I went to Greenville Tech for a year, and then I got an offer for a transplant. So I had to sit out a year, and I was one of those late bloomers. You know, I was in culinary school. I was 40 years old in a classroom with 18 and 19-year-olds. and you know, they were like, hey, why don't we do a weekend trip together? I'm like, am I going to be the chaperone? But once I got my transplant, you know, I'm like, hey, I'm 40 years old. Do I want to be in a classroom? So I decided to go to Virginia College. And I finished up, you know, the 10-month program there at Virginia College. This was never supposed to be a career choice of mine. It was supposed to be a hobby. And I tell you, I just fell in love with food. You know, I always tell people that between my children and food, you know, those two elements is what saved my life. Yeah.
That's great. And so what are you making for us today?
So today I am doing one of a Southern classic, as I like to call it. I'm going to demonstrate to you how to cook collard greens. And I know some of you guys are saying collard greens, why are you using collard greens? Well, you would be amazed at how many people do not know how to do collard greens. And what you have today in front of you is one of the items at our restaurant. It's called a soul roll. And what that soul roll is seasoned collard greens with black-eyed peas wrapped in a deep-fried spring roll. So, getting around to collard greens. Why did I choose collard greens? And first of all, collard greens is one of the, what I like to call one of the Afro-Indigenous foods of South Carolina. Even though the collard green itself originated in Greece, it wasn't until the slaves brought the collard greens over here from Africa and actually started cooking the way that us Southerners like it cooked. which is in that rich hot liquor filled with flavors. And that's what I'm going to show you today, is how to build those flavors of that hot liquor. First of all, we're going to start out with the collard greens. And you know, I have the collard green leaves right here. Growing up in a large family of farmers and with grandmothers and great aunts, I'm going to tell you right now, you wash those collard greens, you probably washed them 3 or 4 times before you ate them. I think they washed all the nutrients off of them before we ate them. But you wash those collard greens. And now I'm going to show you different ways to cut these collard greens. You're going to have some people who just take their collard greens, they're going to roll them up, and they are going to just cut them in ribbons, sort of like a chiffonade. And now this is the thing. They will leave the stems in there. My grandmother would roll over in her grave and I left those stems in there. So the thing that you want to do is, myself, I like to just take a knife and I just like to cut that rib out. And let me tell you, after I cut these ribs out, I gotta wash them again. Or either you can take them and you can just tear them off that stem. And once you get those torn off or cut off, of course you want to roll them up, sort of like in your collard green cigar, and you want to chiffonade those. Now let's talk about building the base for the flavors of that rich pot liquor. What I like to do, I do like to start out with just a little bit of oil. Rob said he left that on for me. I guess I should have checked to see if it was really hot. Just gonna start it off with a little bit of oil, not much. Because what we're gonna do in that oil, we're gonna take some onion. And we're gonna dice some onion up, as well as some bell peppers. And if you like garlic, I would say add garlic. Garlic adds flavor, so if you like garlic, don't be afraid to add garlic. This is the thing about collard greens. Pretty much, whatever flavors that you like in your greens, that's what you put in there. There's no right or wrong way to do it. It's just all about building your flavors. So, we're just gonna take the bell peppers. And as y'all can see, I wasn't thinking about TV magic today. I already have these chopped up, but hey, I'm gonna go ahead and do what I gotta do. So I'll go ahead and take these bell peppers and take your onion, dice that also. And it's no particular size dice because this is gonna cook down. So all of your vegetables, along with your collard greens and your peppers and onions, they're gonna cook down. With a little bit of that oil, we're gonna go ahead and get that in there. Now the key to a good collard green is to build your flavors. So once you have these vegetables in there, your onions and your bell peppers, now is the time that you want to season them. Don't just pour your liquid in there. You want to start seasoning those now. So we're just going to take a teaspoon of salt, half teaspoon of pepper, let that go in there. I'm also going to add some red pepper flakes and some Cajun seasoning.
You like your spicy? You like your spicy?
I like them spicy. I like them spicy.
So just a quick show of hands. Who cuts out the center? The stem. Maybe no, really does that. Okay. We got some southerners here.
Got some southerners up in here.
Speaking of building flavors, I feel like Ted Allen on Chopped, but you have 5 minutes.
Okay.
So build.
I got it. Oh, I'm almost finished. I'm not gonna do like Rob. We thought we were gonna put Rob out there. The last thing I want to add is some vegetable seasoning. As you can see, I do not have any meat products in here. I have a lot of customers, they don't want the meat product. First thing they ask, do you have pork in your greens?
Right.
No, we don't put pork in our greens. You don't need the pork in there, you don't need the meat in there because you're building those flavors. Then what you wanna do, you wanna add, I have some chicken stock right here. So you gotta think about, it's flavor after flavor after flavor being built. So once that starts to boil, you're gonna take your collard greens, of course, and you're gonna put your collard greens in there. And of course, I would have done that entire bowl because they're gonna cook down. And this is the misconception that a lot of people have. They think that they have to cook these collard greens all day long. You do not cook your collard greens all day long. Give it a good simmer, bring it to a high heat, let it boil for a good 15, 20 minutes, turn it down on a medium heat, no more than an hour and a half, maybe 2 hours. That's all it takes for those collard greens.
Excellent.
So tell us about the soul roll. What did you do with the collard greens once you had them?
In that slow roll that you have, we just took the collard greens with the seasoned black-eyed pea and we rolled it in a spring roll and deep fried that spring roll.
Wow.
And served it with a good.
Kind of a nice combination of tangy of the greens
And the sauce had a kick to it too.
Yeah.
It's really nice.
Yeah.
it was a chili sauce, right?
Right, a sweet chili sauce.
And you got this on the menu at the restaurant?
That is one of my #1 sellers at the
That's
restaurant.
right.
It
Okay,
is.
so in Abbeville, next time you're passing through Abbeville, Indigenous Underground, Chef Erica will serve you up the whole mess of the soul
Yes, I
roll.
will.
What other kinds of food is on the menu?
Like I say, we try to focus on a lot of the Afro-Indigenous ingredients, South Carolina. So we have a black-eyed pea gumbo. Our black-eyed pea gumbo is not like the gumbo that you would find in Louisiana. Theirs is a really dark, heavy roux. As for ours, it's more of a tomato base. That's just a recipe I came up with myself. Another popular item, or of course the shrimp and grits, the gator and grits is very popular there. And I'm gonna tell you, we love our grits down here. So I have a lot of dishes with grits. We have, if you're at Feast by the Field, look for my team. They're gonna be serving greens over grits. And what that is a seasoned collard green over a Cajun style grit, topped with shredded pork and a jerk barbecue sauce.
We'll be there.
Yeah, check them out. My daughter will be there, so just drive her crazy. They've been driving me crazy.
What kind of grits do you use?
I use Atkins Buildings Company out of, to be honest with you, I found out it's 2 Atkins Buildings. I did not know that. Now the one that I use is also a South Carolina certified farmer. He's out of Honeypath. All of 50% of my ingredients come from local farmers within Abbeville County.
Wow.
60% of my inventory is South Carolina certified farmers. So I'm working on where all of my products stay within our town and within our county. And the farmers, they appreciate it to the fullest. My grit guy, he comes in there, he says every time he sees a bowl of grits pass by, he'll start telling me, those are my grits. Same thing with my beef, my beef farmer, he's like, that T-bone, he'll go around like he works there, that T-bone, how do you like that T-bone? But they are very grateful that I've given them that exposure, and I'm very grateful for them. They don't know that they help me out more than I help them out. So I'm very grateful for the farmers and the cattle farmers, the wheat, the dairy farmers. I mean, they really do come through for me.
That's great. It's great to hear Rob kind of indicated the same, so that's exciting.
That's why it's the whole Chef Ambassadors program is agriculture